Day the franchise Shane Douglas, the first and greatest ECW world champion of all time. As I watch all the big companies falter, WWE looking like the cartoon it's always been. When you want the information for the sport you love and remember, there's only one place to get it. It's House of Kayfabe with Stephen P. New and some jackass named Resner.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the House of Kayfabe. I am your host, Brian Resner, along with my good friend, Stephen P. New, and our good friends, Adam Harris and Stephen Barker, and we are talking about Ric Flair's last match. And I think I might be on a different side of the argument here than the rest of you, because I don't have a problem with this. Obviously, Barker, you have a problem with this, and we're going to go into all the problems that we may have with this match. But let's first start about how we got here. We have got, how old is Ric Flair officially? How old is Ric Flair officially?
73 years old.
Okay, so he is 73 years old, and he's stepping into the ring. Now, if this was anybody else, I'd be like, no, why are we doing this? But it's not anybody else. It's the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. So to me, as a fan, I just want to see this go down. Stephen Barker, how do you feel like we got here?
Well, we got here through divorces, mismanagement of money, drinking far too much. Spending like a drunken sailor on shore leave. That's how we got here. I'm a musician, so like a lot of my musical heroes, those who survived, always end up doing undignified gigs at the end of their life. It's why you see the Beach Boys without Brian Wilson playing the Charleston Regatta for no good reason at all, and just playing the hits. I love Ric Flair. I'll call off work the day Ric Flair shuffles off this mortal coil. I love him as much as I love Lee Von Helm, and Adam Harris understands how big of a statement that is. And man, it just breaks my heart that we now have to talk about Ric Flair in the same sentence as fucking Gypsy Joe.
Yeah, but don't you want to hear the hits, man? Come on. If Levon was back here and you could still go see Levon, wouldn't you want to see that while you could?
You're right. You're right.
Let me interject here. Okay, so there was once upon a time a band called Kiss. And I went and seen Kiss in concert, and a lot of people told me that it was going to be a great show, but they were like, oh, well, I don't know about now because they're really old. So I went and seen Kiss. There were some 70-year-olds, I think at least 3 in that band when I went and seen them, and they were absolutely incredible. I've never liked Kiss a day in my life. Never, ever have I ever been a Kiss fan. I went to see Kiss at 70 years old. They were 70 years old playing, and they won me over. I was like, Kiss is awesome, even though I've never liked their music a day in my life.
But did Gene Simmons take a backdrop off of the top rope?
He didn't, but he did some pretty incredible shit on stage. It was not like watching a group of 70-year-olds perform. And I'm thinking that especially with this being a tag team match, this is a tag team match. He's going to have a lot of rest. He's going to have a lot of protection. This is going to be, let's be straight. I've already seen Ric Flair's last match. It was against Shawn Michaels, and it was incredible.
Oh.
When he went and faced Mick Foley after that match, I thought he was tarnishing his legacy because he put such a perfect storybook ending on his career that even Mick Foley in a hardcore match, and I'm an ECW guy, so seeing him go against Mick Foley in a hardcore match at however old he was then, like 60, I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome. But in the back of my head, I was like, why are you doing this, Rick? You're really ruining it. You had Shawn Michaels. It was a storybook ending. However, after it happened, he's already ruined that storybook ending with Shawn Michaels. He's already done a match after his last match, after his WrestleMania moment. He already did it. It not only was it a match, it was a hardcore match where he bled and everything else. So really, he's already tarnished that legacy ending, the legacy ending. I don't feel like Ric Flair could tarnish his legacy. I feel like his legacy is forever going to be in the hearts and souls of all of us. However, if you're going to say he tarnished his legacy ending, it's already happened. So why not do one more match for us? Why not come out there one more time and walk that aisle and style and profile, baby? Ric Flair one more time. I'm with it. I'm okay with it.
Stephen P. New, get him.
Stephen P. New, tell me that you don't want to see Ric Flair walk that aisle one more time.
I don't want to see Ric Flair walk that aisle one more time. And I can go back further than the last match with Shawn Michaels. Now, I thought Ric Flair's last match with Sting, the last match of WCW, was sad. He was in such bad shape in the year 2000 or 2001, whatever year that was, with the last match of WCW. He had to wear a T-shirt. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking at that time, how sad is it that the guy that could wrestle 8 60-minute matches a week had to wrestle in a T-shirt in 2001 on WCW's last match ever, although it was apropos that Ric Flair was wrestling Sting, the last match that WCW would ever have. So that's how far back tarnishing the legacy goes for me. He was in Evolution after that.
And
he retained a little bit of his glory, and that kind of stuff in WWF, thanks to Hunter. And, then has the WrestleMania retirement match. Then everybody
excellent. That was excellent.
I think Evolution was excellent. I think he was great in Evolution.
And Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair at WrestleMania for his last match was incredible. It was a lot better than Sting versus Flair at the end of WCW. That's for sure.
It certainly was. But everybody knew then that wasn't going to be his last match. And was it an ex-wife or something? Let me tell you part of what I don't like about this. He's not in a company, and they're trying to manufacture an angle with Jarrett and Jay Lethal, knowing that both those guys idolize and worship Ric Flair. They don't hate him, yet they've got him out there. He's getting juice at a car tire with David Crockett, and they're trying to manufacture some heat that everybody knows he doesn't have. And I think, and Barker, correct me if I'm wrong, when it was announced Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat, weren't you excited a little bit?
Oh, yeah. But I think Ricky Steamboat, I think that may have been some fantasy booking online. Because if I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me on this, I think he's in bad health. I think Steamboat's in bad health. No.
It was not some fantasy booking online. It was it was something that was talked about with Conrad Thompson. And Thompson.
Oh, well, then, okay.
He leaked the information before it was a finalized deal. That's what happened.
But my point was, if this was Flair versus Steamboat, mm-hmm. and I thought Ric Flair wasn't going to die, which is probably the reason why a good, decent family man like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat isn't going to engage in this tomfoolery, then I could have gotten behind that, because the chance to relive Flair Steamboat one more time, just to watch that and to think, man, what can these guys, one in his late 60s, one in his early 70s, do, some 33 years later? What can they do? They were late 30s, early 40s when they had the magical trio of matches in '89. If that was going to happen, I might be with you, Resner. I might be excited about this. I might be buying it. But for them to go and manufacture this angle with him getting color, with Jarrett and Lethal beating him up, and that's how they got to try to manufacture some interest in this story with TMZ. That should have told wrestling fans all they needed to know. And I'm not excited for it. I mean, to walk that aisle one more time, I mean, no thank you. I'll watch Steamboat Flair 89 a few more times, or Great American Bashes, and watch him pull a dusty finish on us one more time. but I'm not as big
Beautiful, Bobby.
as I am. As big a Ric Flair fan as I am. And I believe he's the greatest. He's not my favorite, but I believe that he's the greatest that's ever done it. 8 60-minute matches a week for years. Nobody else did that at that high of a championship, world champion level, 5 continents, the whole deal.
Okay.
I'm just not interested in this.
Well, I'll tell you one of the reasons why you're not interested. And before I say this, I will give a disclaimer that I am not a hater of Conrad Thompson.
I am.
And I know you are. I know you don't like Conrad Thompson. I am not a hater of Conrad Thompson. I actually am a fan of Conrad Thompson. But I'm also a former promoter. And I can tell you right now, this was a scramble. And by that meaning, what I'm saying is this was a scramble. He had this, and I know what it's like to have lightning in a bottle and just know that if you can release this lightning, you can electrify the entire world. But you have this lightning in a bottle, and you've got to just release it just right. Because if you don't release it right, then you're going to have Stephen Barker and Stephen P. New and Adam Harris talking shit about you on a podcast. So you got to do it. You got to do it perfect. And he was like, I got Ric Flair. That's all I need. I got Ric Flair. I'll find an opponent. Well, then, I've got Ricky Steamboat. I've got Ricky Steamboat involved. This is going to be great. I'm going to tell everyone. And then everyone's going to tell everyone else. And then it's going to get back to Ricky Steamboat. And Ricky Steamboat is going to pull out because we don't have an agreement. And it was just a conversation. And now I don't have an opponent. Well, it's okay. I'll work it out. So I'll get an opponent. Sure. I'm sure I'll find an opponent. Somebody's going to come out of somewhere. So somehow I'm going to get an opponent. So they scrambled. And I would say they probably contacted Chris Jericho. And they were probably kind of pushing that. And then Chris Jericho was like, no, I'm not doing it either. And then they were like, oh no.
That's the only thing that explains the Flair tweet.
Yeah. And
that's the only thing that explains the Flair tweet, which makes me think that Conrad Thompson didn't have his shit packed, didn't have his stuff together. He
didn't. That's the whole point of my theory here. Is that he was scrambling, trying to find somebody, and it came down to the wire. And he couldn't find anybody that was willing.
Jarrett's a local to Nashville. He does a podcast with Conrad Thompson.
Right.
Jay
Exactly.
Lethal wanted to do the podcast with Flair and will probably get a podcast out of that. That's probably part of Jamar Shipman's deal with Conrad Thompson is that he'll get his own podcast.
Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But if you look at the entire group here, they're all people that were at arm's length at a minute's notice. Andrade, he's in the family. You got Jay Lethal, might as well be in the family. And then you got Jeff Jarrett, who does a podcast with Conrad. This is the equivalent of throwing together something at the last minute because you're out of options and you're out of time. And that's exactly
like a family cookout because people aren't going to respond to your Facebook event invite.
Right.
This segment was brought to you by Save with Conrad. Fuck off with that shit, man. Fuck that dude. Adam, I got to bring you in here because you were the one who brought up the Chris Jericho tweet. And it was the first time, like when I heard Ricky Steamboat, I didn't believe it because I think Ricky Steamboat is actually in bad health. I don't think that he's able. Now, Adam, you in our chat room, which one day when we get a Patreon, we'll allow some people in. You said this could be Jericho. Now, Adam, if it was Chris Jericho, I know because I know Adam for 20 years that Chris Jericho is smack dab in the middle of his Mount Rushmore. Would this have made you want to watch this motherfucker?
Oh, definitely. Now I'm actually interested and I might pay the $30 or whatever it is. At that point, I would have been 100% in. And I would love to hear what you guys think, but I don't know if there's very many other people in a singles match that I would have gotten excited about. I mean, there's only a few.
Oh, there's a list.
God, wrestlers
that are a real possibility.
You know what? Hulk Hogan's been talking about a last match for about 8 years.
Fuck off.
We
He
never
already
got
had a
Hulk
last
Hogan.
match with Ric Flair.
Dude,
We
what
never
do you
got Hulk
want,
Hogan.
Resner? Adam, I'm sorry.
This is asinine.
Please indulge me just a second. Resner, what the hell do you think two 73-year-olds, one with a bad hip and one with a pacemaker, why don't you just go down to the nursing home and start a fight down there, Resner, and offer the two oldest guys in the nursing home $100 for whoever picks up the guy?
Hey, do you know for a fact?
Wait, yeah, let me respond at least. If the oldest guys in the nursing home are Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, and all I got to do is pay $100 a piece to watch them fight, I'm doing it.
I mean, you're in Florida, so that could be close by.
Right. Go
Jarrett's
around the corner,
on.
Resner, and wave $500 at two old men, one with a broken hip, the other with a pacemaker, and watch what kind of high quality match you get there.
Hulk Hogan couldn't wrestle when he was a wrestler. At least Ric Flair's a great wrestler. Come the fuck on.
I'd pay the $100 just for the entrances.
No, you're watching that to see if Hulk Hogan's hip shatters. That's what you're watching it for. I'm sorry, Adam. Please continue.
I was excited about the idea of Jericho. I believe that the tweet that Resner thinks is evidence that the shit was not together might be the evidence that their shit actually is together, and they're just working all of us marks because they know we're all just out here debating, creating content, in order to talk about this stuff for one another.
I'll tell you why I don't think that's the case, because you would not tease a better match and announce a lesser match.
Although
you wouldn't do it.
I heard Conrad say, but I don't know when they said, but he said we had already announced that it was going to be a multi-person match. Like allegedly, by the time the announcement was made, if you're paying close enough attention, you would have known it was not going to be a singles match. I did not know that. So as soon as I find out it's a tag match.
Well, that's why a lot of people thought the Rock and Roll, that this was going to be Flair and somebody versus the Rock and Roll. And I think Ricky Morton would have given his left testicle for
what
the
do you
Rock
guys think
and
of
Roll.
that match? Was that $39.99 match or $29.99 match for
That's
you guys?
a $19.99 match.
I would have much rather seen the Rock and Roll Express versus Ric Flair and Tully Blanchard, because Tully Blanchard can work still.
Can he?
Yeah. I mean, we've seen him work on AEW. I mean, and
I saw him fall down like an old man.
Right. I've seen him take a bump off the apron, but I haven't seen him, exactly fucking crisscrossing the ropes there.
No slingshot suplexes I've seen in a while.
Can we get past the fact that this is not going to be a 5-star match? We know that this is not going to be a 5-star match. I mean, it's a 73-year-old man. We're seeing the last Ric Flair match.
It's not going to be the last.
Let me number one, I agree with Parker. I don't think it's going
we
to be
need to
the
save
last.
that for the end. I think that's the last question. Is it the last or not?
Resner, I think what you said, he's going to style and profile. His entrance is going to be something akin to The Undertaker in terms of length and entrance and getting to the ring and all of the pomp and circumstance. They'll have to play 2001 5,005 times just to get him to the ring. And then when he gets there, Andrade El Dildo and Jeff Jarrett and Jamar Shipman will do most of the bumping. And even more so than Jarrett, it will be Lethal and Andrade. They'll do all of that kind of stuff. And then Flair will come in. What everybody wants to see are all of the Flair things that we've loved seeing all through the years, the stuff that Charles Robinson did playing Little Nate. We all want to see him go over the corner. We all want to see him face plant, all of that kind of stuff. We want to see him throw a figure four on a couple of guys.
I don't expect anything but a figure four and some chops. That's what I'm expecting. And if I get that, then I'm 100% satisfied.
Have you been following his training on Instagram with Jay Lethal? Because there is video of him taking the bump off the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. Love it. If Jarrett presses him,
Well, that's a good point. When was the last time Jeff Jarrett worked?
We saw him at WrestleCade. He didn't wrestle there.
He didn't wrestle, and he didn't.
He has done a match
there.
with GCW recently. He defeated
God, hasn't
Effie.
everybody?
Didn't he do a match in WWE not too long ago as well?
No, but the night before this match, he's going to be special guest referee at SummerSlam. So that tells you a little bit about the stature of this match. Oh, Flair's going in against some guy who's a special guest referee.
Right.
With
Well,
WWE.
he hit Matt Sigmund of the Heat Seekers with the Canaries in April.
Yeah, he was seeing canaries.
Okay, does Jeff Jarrett and Ric Flair have any history whatsoever?
Other than Jeff Jarrett almost being a member of the Four Horsemen at one point. It was like he was the guy who wanted to be in the Four Horsemen but could never be in the Four Horsemen.
Right.
Okay.
And honestly, that's what I would be using right now. But of course, no one is really digging deep into how to tell a story. They're just like, yeah, Jay Lethal's mad because he can't be on my podcast, and that didn't even make sense. Like, that story doesn't even
I
make
think
sense.
Here's the way you make this work. I think that what you do is, I think you form two camps, a pro and a con. And I think that you build this angle with people who are in favor of this match and people who are against it. And they've started to tease some of that already with the interviews, but I would have the people get really involved, almost to the point where people like Arn and Tully and Hunter and others are almost like staging an intervention.
Gerald Briscoe kind of did that. Gerald Briscoe quoted that he's not going to watch it because he's afraid he's going to watch his friend die.
Well, I think you do more of that to build this angle, and you have as many people as will come to the stadium that night and be like, no, Rick, don't do it. And other people like, yeah, you're still the man nature boy. Ricky Morton there and Tommy Rich encouraging him to go out one more time. Think about how many old guys like that. Tommy Rich is scheduled to wrestle for Gary in August in Madison, West Virginia. Chick Donovan, Tommy Rich, and Ricky Morton were all three. Chick Donovan is 75 years old, still looks like a Greek Adonis, and he was age 75. And he was in Williamson, West Virginia in May, wrestling with Tommy Rich and Ricky Morton. And so there are a bunch of these guys still out there. Honest to goodness, if Dennis Condrey weren't still a cancer survivor, Barker, you hung out with him after Bastion Beckley this year. You can tell he still wants to do it.
Oh,
dude,
man.
we were watching, Adam, how did you not go to Steve New's house after the Bastion to Beckley? I sat on the same couch as Dennis Condrey watching WCW.
Well, I had an even better view because I was ringside and got to see how excited Condrey was. And so I get it. Every one of these guys would love to have this match. Right. And say what you want about how many last matches Flair has had. Part of the reason those other guys aren't as special is because they've had to just keep going. They've had to do almost everything that's been offered to them, and I'm impressed with the rock and roll if they actually hang it up, because that is just like pro wrestling is the Rock and Roll Express to me. I've been seeing Ricky Morton wrestle since I was a teenager, right. And he's somebody I get to see a lot of times still to this day. And he'll still be around. I just think it won't be the rock and roll, not to get off on that topic. But I think because Flair has done this so great is why it's able to build this kind of interest that everybody's talking about it.
And Brian, if I may, guys, here's what I know. And Brian was talking about Conrad as a promoter and everything like that. Here's what I know. When you got to upgrade your building, when you got to take it from one building that houses this many or accommodates this many, and you've got to elevate that up, that's when you know that you're on to something. Now, I mean, there's a certain amount of people, whether for the morbid aspect of it or genuine fandom and interest, they sold out. They've sold a lot of tickets. They've sold a lot of pay-per-views.
I've got an anecdotal. I've got an anecdotal on
Ric Flair.
I've got an anecdotal on this because me and Adam has a friend that lives in Nashville, and Jimmy is an old school wrestling fan. He actually watches the pod. Shout out, Jimmy. And he is not a regular watcher. Hasn't been for a very long time. He kind of has, because he's friends with me, he knows who Roman Reigns is, but he's not a guy that sets that. He's going. He used to go to the Beckley Armory and watch Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and maybe WCW ran there once. Maybe I think he was telling me that. But he's going. And this is a guy that's not an active wrestler. He's an old school wrestling fan.
Okay, let me get this straight. So you interrupted me to tell me you have a friend in Nashville that's going to the big. That's what.
Well, my point is, well, you were saying that they're selling tickets. I'm saying that there are people that are coming back to it.
And I think Parker's point is this guy, Jimmy, doesn't pay attention to modern wrestling or any of that. But he's heard about Ric Flair's last match and he's going to that. Is that correct, Parker?
Yeah, and that's what to Brian's point, he is selling tickets. He's still a fucking draw.
Right.
Okay, breaking news, water is wet and the sun is hot. People go to see Ric Flair. That's the point.
But should they? Should they?
Well, listen, here's the point. You don't have to be a genius promoter to put Ric Flair on a fucking poster and sell out a building, okay?
Guys,
this is not rocket science. And I'm not trying to attack Conrad once again, but you guys are the ones that don't like Conrad, and you're basically saying, oh, well, he did a really good job.
By the way, I like Conrad. Every dealing that I've ever had with him, and I know that other people with whom I'm associated, great Brian Last, have heat or have a problem with him. Every interaction I've ever had with Conrad, absolutely been fantastic.
Me too.
That being said,
me too. I agree 100%.
If Mike Tyson announced tonight a real fight and not just an exhibition or anything like that, Mike Tyson would sell out freaking MGM tonight. If Tyson came out tonight.
Michael Jordan says he's going to play a basketball game next week. That arena's gone. We're every seat in the house is.
We'd pay to see Jordan take foul shots at this point.
You know what? I guarantee you, I could promote Michael Jordan versus Ric Flair in a chess match and sell out a building. I promise you, I could.
Just because somebody was waiting to see Iron might get mad and punch somebody.
That's not the challenge. The challenge is not, here, Conrad, here's Ric Flair, and here's his last match. Can you sell out a building? Of course you fucking can. But the challenge is, can you send every one of those people home with a positive experience in their brain? And I'm not sure that you can with this. I mean, maybe. Sure.
Well, the undercard isn't bad, and I think that's a great transition there. Before we get to the actual card, and I think Barker and Adam Harris have that up, but there are just a few of those generational athletes. If Wayne Gretzky put on a pair of ice skates, I'll give a damn where that hockey game match is. If Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux put on a pair of skates and said, we're going to play, I'm going to go watch that somewhere, because I didn't get to watch those two guys. Stupid me. I didn't go, just like I didn't go watch Mick Foley get thrown off the top of a cage. I didn't go a little 45, 50 minutes north and watch Mario Lemieux play hockey in Pittsburgh when I had the chance to. I haven't watched Tom Brady play football yet, and I probably wish and hope that I get a chance to watch Tom Brady play. I did get a chance to watch Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal play basketball once. But, you're talking about Jordan. Are you telling me that if Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen said, hey, we're going to play a game of 2-on-2, any two guys in the world that want to play, you'd sell out Chicago's United Center Arena.
Before you ever announce their opponents.
Again, they're not taking a back bump off a fucking top rope. There's no chance of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen dying during that game.
1998, but it's been a quarter of a century since those guys played basketball too, and I'd still go and watch them play, knowing that this isn't 1998 Jordan and Pippen, dude. I know that. Now, I understand the differences in the sports and the risks and everything like that. I think Tyson could take your top 10 boxers in the world today. I think Iron Mike could knock them out.
Okay, so sometimes getting a word in edgewise with Stephen Barker is like lightsaber fighting Darth Vader. But a long time ago, when you guys were talking about the the storyline. I had this thing I wanted to say, and I feel like I got to work it in, even if we've already went past that. A little bit of fantasy book, taking a little bit from what you said, Stephen New, when you said that they should be pushing this whole "don't do it, Flair" versus "do it, Flair." First of all, it makes no sense for Jay Lethal to be in this match. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. He has no connection with anybody but Flair. And the whole storyline is that he wouldn't let Jay Lethal come on his podcast. So now they have heat. That is terrible. And if I was going to write this story, the way I would have wrote it is I would have wrote it as Jay Lethal, Ric Flair saying he wants to have his last match, and Jay Lethal from the bottom of his heart begging the Nature Boy to not do this and begging him not to do this. And then Flair finally snaps and flips out on Jay Lethal in front of some people, maybe even hits him. And then Jay Lethal decides, well, if you're going to have your last match, old man, you're going to die at my hands. And I would have pushed that. I would have had him go find Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett's whole angle would be, you never let me in the Four Horsemen. And I wanted to be a member of the Four Horsemen. And I was supposed to be. It was my time to join the Four Horsemen, and you wouldn't let me in. And you'd have two legitimate reasons why these two people want to wrestle Ric Flair. And Ric Flair has to find someone to have his back. And it's his son-in-law.
Yeah,
boom.
yeah.
There you go. And he bring him in. Now you have somewhat of a story for this match to make it make sense. And this attempt at making it make sense is lazy booking at its best.
That's a fact. I'd have bought that. Might have bought that pay-per-view there, Brian.
Damn right you would have. You know why? Because it takes a little bit of creative thought, and there isn't a whole lot of creative thought left in the world. It's all right here, folks. Just give me a call.
This part sponsored by Save with Brian Resner. But okay, so Adam, this isn't his last match,
Wait,
right?
One correction: you don't save money with Brian Resner. You make money. You
Make money with Brian Resner.
That's right.
Coming
So
soon to the
Harris,
House of Kayfabe.
Do you think this is it? Do you? Adam, I think you're the only one here that's actually met and hung out with Ric Flair. Ric Flair hung out with Adam on his birthday one time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He never hung out with me on my birthday, but I definitely met him and definitely hung out with him 3 times actually.
Nice.
He was actually retired at that point, and I wanted to believe it. I felt good believing it. I thought, man, at this point you've earned it. I've heard him say a couple things about the money, and they keep addressing that in the video, that it's not about the money. We addressed it earlier. You said it, Barker, that it is about the money, and it may be. But even this morning, I heard Flair himself say he didn't like the 30 for 30 because he didn't say he didn't like it. But the thing he wasn't pleased with is that it made him look like he was in the hole. And be that if it's true or not, he went on to say he takes criticism well, but I don't know if I believe. He says, and when he and Dave Crockett are riding on the boat in that video, and he says, it's not about the money this time. It's not about the money this time. I've got all that I need. They seem to be driving that home. And I think that's because Flair has a personal vendetta against that narrative, and he's trying to retell that narrative.
I think it's because he doesn't want people to say the same things that you guys have said in this podcast, that this is why he's having his last match, is because he's broke, because he's made bad decisions, because he's got a bunch of divorces, because he pays out more alimony than most people make in their lives. Oh, that's way spilt liquor. Either way, Ric Flair doesn't want people to think he's broke. You can't be the limousine riding, jet plane flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a bitch if you're broke. You can't. It doesn't work.
Some of us have read his book, and he talks about going broke like 3 times in there. How many times Vince McMahon has come, and like one was a big tax bill. I mean, he's been on his ass a lot. Like
I remember one in specific tax issue that he had where he made a deal with Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola paid his taxes, and he went and sat in a Walmart in every state in the country, and every single state in the country ran a contest of which Walmart in the state could sell the most Coca-Cola, And the ones that sold the most Coca-Cola for each state got a Ric Flair signing for 2 hours. And I was there for the one in West Virginia, which happened to happen in Mabscott.
Yep.
And they sold a shit ton of Coke.
Oh,
Yes,
my
they sure did. Coca-Cola got its money's worth. The IRS might have got caught up, but Coke got its money back on that deal. And that wasn't that long ago.
No, it was probably about 10 years ago.
I was going to say,
Oh,
it was about 10 years ago, because that Walmart in Mabscott hasn't been there that long. For all of you out of state and international listeners, Mabscott, West Virginia is a small town just outside of the town where I live, which is Beckley, West
A
Virginia.
lot of Coke drinkers there.
No shit.
A lot of Coke.
Here, I'm going to
Oh
go
my
back to the
Coke
idea of being a
Ric Flair
promoter.
fans.
Being a promoter, which is it's also great promotion from Coke. But, I think if pro wrestling is pro wrestling, then the most pro wrestling thing you can do is bill an entire event around something called someone's last match, and then have it turn out to not be their last match. That's pro wrestling.
What do you think is next for Ric Flair? Do you believe
Terry
there's a
Funk.
singles match next? I mean, it'd be great if it would have been Terry Funk.
You
Terry
know he
Funk-
called. Terry Funk called. You know he did. You know he was in some old folks home
No, from
in
what
They
El
were pulling
Paso,
him back
Texas.
from the payphone.
From what I
Put the phone
understand,
down, Terry.
I believe
Well,
Terry
Carney?
is Terry's not available to do anything like that. I don't think Terry's not in the best of health right now either.
I don't think
I
that
think-
matters to Terry Funk.
Yeah, no. If they could wheel him up, though, he'd put on a show. No doubt about it.
I
don't
think
know what
all
you do
these
next.
guys-
If you
I
do
think
something
all
next,
these guys-
I don't know what it is.
I think all these guys want to die in the ring, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, here's something that a friend of mine just sent me, or posted rather. Shows in Nashville. The angle they should have run would have been Jarrett defending the honor of Jerry Jarrett's territory from an invasion by the Crockett's, Jim Crockett Promotions, and Ric Flair into the. I would have liked that story better than you wouldn't let me on your podcast.
That's esoteric. Steve knew. Holy shit. He's AEW nerds watching this. Don't know what the fuck territory is.
Well, but still, I mean, to the people who care about Ric Flair and this stuff, that would have mattered.
Here's a question. He's 73 years old. If he is 73 years old, hasn't he already won? I mean, think about all the other wrestlers that have not made it to 73. Hasn't Ric Flair already won?
Yeah, man, because it isn't like that dude
Well-
living a healthy lifestyle worrying about his ending of his life.
Well, and not only that, he kicked out of that really bad health scare a few years ago. In every arena and every wrestling match in the world right now, if somebody gets chopped, they say, woo. And number three, when you are in a hip hop song in 2019 or 20, and there are hip hop songs being written about a 70-year-old man, and you've got young urban folks out here who are still talking about the Ric Flair drip and what that means like to the hip hop community and things like that, then you've won. You've won.
But see, all of those things just means that like he shouldn't have to do it because it's so
Okay.
goddamn undignified to watch this sad 73-year-old man hobble around the ring. Because
Before-
those matches, that stuff we've been watching on Instagram is very slow. Like
He lost his last match, and I believe the way he's lost his last match in WWE to Shawn Michaels. And then the 30 on 30 was edited in such a way, like Adam Harris said, that it was edited in such a way that almost made him like a sad character instead of this is the greatest wrestler that's ever laced up a pair of boots, which, all that has to do with post-production and editing, guys. I mean, they can spin that any way they want to spin it. If they had wanted to spin it as this is the greatest wrestler who has ever lived, and these are the reasons why, and you give just a couple of the down parts of it, but when you got Shawn Michaels on there saying he doesn't know who Richard Flair is, he's never been Richard Flair, He lives the gimmick. Da da da. I mean, man, the 30 on 30. I can see why Ric Flair believes he needs to do this, and that is to try to correct the 30 on 30 narrative and losing to Shawn Michaels in his last match.
And then this way it's on his own terms, which I was saying earlier, like those other guys, don't get to choose the terms very often, whereas Ric Flair's at a spot where he can.
All right, we're about to go over the card, and we're going to go through that quickly. I don't want to talk about every single match. Just, let me know what you think about it, and we'll go through the card here in just a second. But before we do that, I want to mention something I was going to mention whenever you talked about Offset's video, Ric Flair Drip. So quick little sidebar, quick little story. I have a friend by the name of James Taylor, and he's no relation to the singer James Taylor, but James Taylor was online just talking to a few friends, and this girl hit him up because she knew that he was a wrestling fan. And she told him a story, and she said, my dad used to run a hotel in Chicago in the 80s. And one time Ric Flair came through and he left his robe in his hotel room, and my dad stole it and put it in a box. Well, then my dad died and I got all his stuff. So I opened this up and here's Ric Flair's robe. Would you be interested in buying it? And James said, of course I would be interested in buying it. How much do you want for it? And she said, I don't know, $300. And he said, absolutely. Send her the money. She sent him the robe. He brings the robe to the bar that I am at the time. You might remember Munchies. I was there, and he brings this robe, and we take a look at it, and it's the Chi-Town Rumble robe. It is the red Chi-Town Rumble robe. And this girl had no idea what she had. So we end up contacting Conrad, and Conrad pays $11,000 for this robe. Then Conrad sells that robe for like $20-some thousand to Offset. So if you look at it, you can see Ric Flair wearing the Chi-Town Rumble robe. You can also see Offset wearing the Chi-Town Rumble robe. But somewhere in the collection of Brian Resner, you can also see Brian Resner wearing that exact same robe. Before Conrad got it, I put my ass in it and took pictures. So I have actually wore the Chi-Town Rumble Ric Flair robe.
Send that to me in the future, Brian, and I will put that right here.
Okay, well, I will definitely send that to you so that you can see me in the Chi-Town Rumble robe. It's a thing, and you can definitely see it. Anyway, let's go into the card. I want to talk about the matches a little bit before we get out of here. We've been here for quite a long time, and I want to get into the matches. So go ahead and give me the first one, Adam Harris.
All right, you got it. First thing up, looks like there's an Impact World Title match. Jacob Fatu versus Josh Alexander. I'm sure that'll actually be a great match.
No, this is going to be an amazing match, and you also get to see a clash between Impact and MLW. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to see Jacob Fatu do more than he's doing, and this is kind of a great way to start. Josh Alexander, I don't know if you guys are very familiar with the Walking Weapon, but the Walking Weapon is incredible to watch. I've been a big fan of this guy for a long time, and I think this match is going to be incredible.
I think this is a good one. This card itself is actually reminiscent of the WrestleCade card. The big night of WrestleCade, where it's like a fan favorites. Like this is booked for fans. We saw a trios match of ladies down there, and there's a similar one here with Jordan Grace, who's the Impact Knockouts champion, against she's wonderful, against Deonna Purrazzo, who I also think is wonderful, and Rachel Ellering, who I think still has many years of stardom ahead of her. That's a triple threat match.
God, Jordan Grace is so hot.
I've got my picture with her.
Dude, she'd hurt me. She'd kill you.
Real quick, before we go too far in the crowd, or in the card, Steven and Steven, do either one of you guys know who the Walking Weapon is?
I actually watched a match of his on Pluto TV the other night.
He's been in Impact for a while, man. He's been kind of a
he's like a Kurt Angle type. Is he like a Kurt Angle guy?
Largely a tag team for a long time, right?
Sure was.
So it was mostly a tag team wrestler, but now I'm glad he's getting his singles run on Impact.
All right, so we just went over a triple threat females match. What's next on this card?
This is a big one. I don't know how many matches this guy does. Some, but Killer Cross, of course, with Scarlett Boudreaux. They'll be hot at the gimmick table, no doubt.
Mm.
Against Harry Smith, a man we've had at ASW several times over the years. Harry Smith and Killer Cross, battle of the big boys.
I believe this
that's going to be fantastic. That match right there is worth the price of the pay-per-view. I'm telling you, because Killer Cross is one of my favorites, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Met him at WrestleCon a couple of years ago in New Orleans. And Harry Smith, hung out with him a lot. He's been to Gary's shows a lot. He's just fantastic. I mean, and it'll be interesting. Harry Smith's been shoot fighting a lot lately. So this is going to be a battle of Goliaths and two guys who can really go. I don't know where he should be right now, but whatever dumbass, Dana Warrior, I'm talking to you, but whatever dumbass in the WWE cut Killer Cross and Scarlett Bordeaux, you're crazy. Y'all are stupid. That was the future of your company that you let go.
Hey, you left one out there. I would like to know what your opinion of Scarlett Boudreaux is, Stephen Pinu.
Oh.
Can no one on this podcast can no one on this podcast say Bordeaux?
Bordeaux.
Is it? Bordeaux.
Scarlett Bordeaux.
Oh, my bad.
All right, Scarlett Bordeaux. It is.
Well,
Hotter than a $2 pistol is what she is.
Very talented.
No doubt.
Very
That's
talented.
money.
Yeah, she's a
Yes.
5-star athlete all day.
Chipper.
Hey, I gotta tell you what, I'd kneel and pray.
Yeah, no shit.
I'd kneel and pray at anything she wanted.
What's next on this card, Adam Harris?
Let's see. I feel like this one is. We're all wrestling fans here. I don't know if any of you guys know. This is the first time these names have rolled off my tongue here. Clark Connors versus Ren Narita.
Let's call Derek, and he'll tell us all their hometown.
Insert Derek Jones clip here.
What their weight and age is, what their
I got
record
something for
is on the fucking indies.
So
Derek, record a 2-minute clip and have Barker insert it here.
I had the opportunity to see both of these guys wrestle when New Japan Pro Wrestling invited us to the New Japan Strong Style event, and they are both extremely talented. So this will be a great match.
Yeah, it'll be a great match for most of the crowd to get popcorn, I imagine.
Not if they pay attention to the first 5 minutes. They'll stick with it the whole time.
Yeah. There's a 4-way match here. If you say trios, no, it's not trios. It would be a quattro match.
Quattros.
Ray Phoenix, Tarus, the Laredo Kid, and Bandito, representing AAA. I think this match is being billed as AAA. Spot Fest, probably,
Yep.
right?
Those are some Mexican wrestlers.
Yep. I think I saw that match in MLW in Queens a few years ago.
So we have 3 big tag matches leading up to the tag match. So a tag match heavy card here for sure.
What is Jim Crockett Promotions? It was a very heavy tag team territory.
Makes sense to me. Hey, and you know what? I actually love tag team wrestling. I think it's the best thing for our live crowd.
I like good tag team wrestling.
Yeah, and I think you're destined to see 3 good ones here. Marshall and Ross, the Von Erichs, who I have not seen wrestle, but I know Stephen P. New has, versus Dem Boys, the Briscoes.
Ooh,
I can't.
that's going to be a great. That to me, that's right under Killer Cross, Harry Smith for match of the night. Those guys. If Marshall and Ross are healthy, they'll steal the show.
I think you got to open with that match. I don't know. Just looking at the overall card, I feel like that's a good opener.
Man, those kids look like $1 million gazillion dollars. Holy shit, the Von Erich DNA is strong in both of those kids.
How does the WWE not already?
I don't get it either.
Everything about those
These
kids?
guys should have a palatial estate at the NXT
the story
Performance Center.
Because the Von Erich story, because of like the dark side of the ring, and
they've rewritten everything else. I don't see why they can't rewrite this.
The only thing that the Von Erich boys would need, because they are legitimately Kevin's sons, they are nice kids. They're well spoken, but they're kind of reserved. They need a manager in WWE would be the only thing. I mean, they would be a tag team that you'd have to have a mouthpiece out there for, because they're just not real comfortable on the mic.
put barefooted Kevin out there and let him talk.
I agree. I agree. I think if Kevin would come from Hawaii, and talk for his sons, that would be great.
No, I probably wouldn't. He was the worst Von Erich.
We all know they would put.
Oh no!
If they signed him to WWE, we all know they'd send him out with Tamina Snuka.
Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ!
I believe
give him some great talking female valet or something like that, and because in the ring, once the bell rings, those guys are top shelf.
I am emotionally invested in the Von Erichs because when I was a kid on ESPN, I don't know if it was Wednesdays, because Wednesdays was AWA and maybe Saturdays was World Class. I watch World Class constantly. And man, I was the biggest Von Erich mark. I thought they were the coolest Texas boys ever. And you are wrong, Brian Resner. Everybody will say, and Gary Hart, because I just read Gary Hart's book, or actually listened to the audio. Cool. I'll send you all the file. There's somebody bootlegged it on YouTube.
I can't wait to hear you tell me I'm wrong on this.
Dude, everybody says that Kevin Von Erich was the best of the Von Erich boys.
Oh, really? Does everyone say that because he's still alive to hear him?
No, man. His wrestling was amazing. He was the high flyer of that bunch. He was great.
Okay, was he Kerry Von Erich? Absolutely not. Was he David Von Erich? Absolutely not. What was the fake Von Erich?
Lance.
He was better than Lance.
No,
there you go.
Steve New, can you help me here, please?
Yeah. David Von Erich was being groomed to be a world champion.
Damn straight he was.
He was killed in Japan in 1984.
Allegedly.
Yes. And then Kerry was just fantastic. And had Kerry gone to the WWF in 85, that might have been a totally different.
Well, how about this? How about Kevin didn't do drugs? Kevin didn't do alcohol. Kevin was the most sane and the most careful one of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see his flying head scissors?
And he was also the farthest away from a world championship.
Dude, he was amazing. Dude, Kevin Von Erich is a flat out great.
If he was
wrestler.
amazing, they would have strapped the world title to him and a rocket to his ass.
Well, now, in fairness, after you've lost two of your brothers,
sure.
I don't know that Kevin had much of an appetite for the business or anything else like that. And
sure.
he not only lost David, then Mike, Chris. And then eventually Kerry later. That's a lot to deal with. So Kevin's and then Fritz, but Kevin's going to get a pass from me. But anyway, we love Dim Boys versus the Von Erichs. That's going to be a great match.
Wonderful.
It is. I think this next tag team match, either this next one or the next one, I'm not sure which one you're going to name first, but there's one of these tag matches that I think is going to be the best match on the card. Go ahead. What's the next tag team match? Can't hear you, Adam.
Sorry about that.
What's the next match, sir?
I'm guessing this is the one you think is not going to be the best match of the night, but it's Kerry and Ricky Morton with Robert Gibson. So they have the Rock and Roll Express together, just not in the match. Against Kerry and Ricky against Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson.
That is definitely not going to be the match of the night. That is for sure.
With Arn Anderson.
I like all the people involved.
I do too.
Me too.
I like all the people involved in that match, and so
what that match
they have a challenge. That's a huge challenge.
I like everybody in that match too, especially Ricky Morton. I love Ricky Morton like he is a member of my family. But I will tell you right now, this match will not even compare to the Wolves versus the Motor City Machine Guns. The American Wolves versus the Motor City Machine Guns is a match that I would love to see. I mean, it kind of has the same feel as FTR versus the American Wolves from the show that you did, Steve.
Yeah.
This is going to be incredible. And I've always felt like the American Wolves don't really get what they deserve. They never have really got what they deserve. And the Motor City Machine Guns are kind of in that same vein. Mm-hmm. You've got two teams that could have been the greatest teams on earth if just in the right place at the right time. They weren't in the right place at the right time, but man, the potential Both of these teams are incredible. This match is going to be an absolute barn burner.
I agree 100,000% with Brian Resner. My TNA watching, on top of what I've been watching now more than anything, other promotions besides Impact Wrestling on Pluto TV, get that app. It's wonderful. It's 24/7. One of the best things they do about that is they get rid of all the garbage. But when I was watching TNA heavy, that was when we got Beer Money, Motor City Machine Guns, dude, fucking Kazarian and Christopher Daniels was still in a tag team back then. The whole tag crew was amazing during that era of TNA. Now, Alex Shelley did go to New Japan and get really successful with a where they called the Time Jumpers. They dressed up. They dressed up like Marty McFly from fucking from the movie, but Alex Shelley did get a modicum of big success in Japan. I love Davey Richards. I got to hang out with him at Stephen P. New's house for about an hour and a half, and he told stories, and it was wonderful. So I'm a mark for life. I may buy this pay-per-view and then not watch the main event.
Stop.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Stop.
In my life. You're gonna watch.
There must be standards and ethics in this world, Brian Resner.
I feel like I'm going to order it. I feel like I'm going to last minute decide to order it. I think.
Why are you choosing this hill to die on? If Ric Flair wants to choose the ring as his hill to die on, I will watch it. I'll pay the $100. I want to see the roast.
You would also go to a fucking cockfighting ring if you had the chance. I don't want to see that stuff. This is our dignified, greatest world champion of all time.
Are you trying to say that I've never had a chance to go see cockfighting before?
So did you go?
No, I didn't go. No, I didn't
believe
go.
it.
I only watch human cockfighting.
Well, I was going to say, you stuck around for when George South had that horrendous hardcore match at WrestleCade. You were in fucking heaven.
Awesome. Well, what are you, Chris Cruz over here? Did you know Chris Cruz started a George South retire hashtag because he wants George South to retire, so he's attacking everything that George South does? That's Chris Cruz, the former announcer for WCW Worldwide.
No,
I don't want him to retire. I just don't want to see him get bashed in the head with a fucking door.
Why is Chris so thirsty? What's he so thirsty for? Why is he mooching off George South?
Well, George South is ready to wrestle in GCW. You know, so
Chris Cruz is also really against Ric Flair's last match. I'm thinking that maybe Steve Barker and Chris Cruz might be the same fucking person. I've never seen them in the same place at the same time. So I don't know for a fact that Steve Barker wasn't the announcer for Worldwide in 1993. But
as a 16-year-old man, I was
the funny thing. Yes, he left Seth High School on Friday evening to make it to record.
I've been begging Chris Cruz to come on our podcast for like 3 years now.
So you're baiting him now?
That for 3 years, I've been begging him to come on the podcast. I've actually had quite a few conversations with the guy. We actually had an argument when he pushed the Maryland Commission to fine AEW for the hardcore.
That's match. Where that came?
Yeah.
That came from Chris Cruz.
So this guy's just like the Karen of fucking wrestling?
He is the Karen of wrestling.
He's a real life troll.
I have been begging him to come on the podcast, and his responses to coming on the podcast are hilarious because he just absolutely shits on anything wrestling fan oriented. So if it has to do with wrestling fans, Chris Cruz is 100 against it.
Well, I'm against it because I love him. That guy's just against it because it sounds like he's just an asshole. I love Ric Flair, like the things that he has done for me in my life. I owe him so much. I don't want to see it.
Chris Cruz said the same thing.
Fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Steve New, are you going to watch it?
No, Rebecca will be in Wizard of Oz that night.
Okay, so if you could watch it, would you? Don't fucking politic this shit.
If I could, I probably would, just because Ric Flair saying that he's going to die on top of a woman or in the ring. I want to watch to see if it's going.
You want to watch either one?
I want to watch either one of them. I want to see which one of those comes through first.
Only on the House of Kayfabe, folks.
Adam, are you going to watch it? I know.
I probably will. I don't have to work that Sunday, and I'm anxious to. We'll see. I probably will.
Is it a Sunday?
It's a Sunday night. Yes, Saturday's SummerSlam, which I'll probably will watch, I can see Jeff Jarrett, guest referee, and then see him in the main on Jim Crockett Promotions.
There you go.
I've already purchased my price.
Of course you have.
Of course he has.
Conrad
Tell-
Compton.
tell-
His boy
tell
Conrad Compton.
Yeah, no shit.
Tell the fine folks where they can purchase this and how they stream it, Resner.
Well, I did it on Fight. So
Aha.
Yeah, it's all over the place. They're doing direct TV.
Bleacher Report.
Yeah. I don't know about that one, but they're on direct TV, all the cable services. You can old school pay-per-view it, as well as Fight TV. So I think that's probably where I'll go.
You can also
Fight TV.
Pirate Bay it later.
And in the entrance of, as I mentioned earlier, talk about old school wrestling and how everything is promoting, and like they also just announced a battle royal for the card too, and so they're going to get everybody on the card, baby.
Oh God, this is where Braun Strowman could get $75 to come win a Royal Rumble.
It'll also be the AEW Talent Search Battle Royal.
Oh no,
how funny.
AEW Talent Search Battle Royal.
I made that up,
Okay.
but now it's going to trend on Twitter.
Nice. How
House of
long?
Kayfabe reports.
How long is till Ric Flair is all elite?
I hope they do
I don't
something with
believe
Lethal
that.
and Andrade. That's what I hope, is that this might lead to something that can make some money between Jay and Andrade. That's my biggest hope, is that somebody will make some money off these other guys, so somebody else can make some money besides Ric Flair.
If you're going to see Ric Flair go anywhere, he's going back to the WWE.
Yeah.
Well, they added him back to the website. He's got his
and
legacy
put
back.
him on the intro. The now forever together.
Woo.
He's back in.
It was either him or the paralegal, so they took Ric Flair. Wrap us up, Brian.
All right,
Hey,
ladies
take
and
us
gentlemen,
take us home, Rister.
make sure that you hit subscribe and you hit the little bell so you get your notifications. If you are watching this on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast platform, you can also hit subscribe and make sure to leave us a 5-star review. We are building and building and building, and we need your help to build. So please tell your friends, share the YouTube link, share our Spotify link, share any of the platforms where you find awesome podcasts. You can find us, the House of Kayfabe. Remember, we will be at WrestleCade, and we just announced we're bringing Cesaro with us. No, Claudio Castagnoli will be with us at WrestleCade. Also, we're bringing Aubrey Edwards, Davey Richards, Heath Slater, and a couple more, right, Steve? Who else do we have on that table?
Francine.
Yes.
And
Matt and
I
Brian.
don't know. Maybe what's that?
Matt and Brian, hosts of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast.
They will be
And
there as well.
Heath.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
We've got
baby.
We
Oh,
have a
baby.
cast of awesomeness at WrestleCade once again this year. We will also be doing the sister podcast of Franchised with Shane Douglas, live with Shane Douglas at the event. So it's going to be an exciting weekend. We are excited to be a part of it, and it is getting close, guys. It's like 4 months away.
Yeah. And are you going to let me and Francine butt in on the franchise with Shane Douglas there?
I'm pretty sure that's the plan. That's the plan. So I'm hoping to get a few other ECW alumni to join us. I'd like to have a big ECW conversation. Those conversations can go very long, and I'm pretty good at them. So I'm excited to talk ECW once again. I think I've done more ECW Q&As than any other subject. So this will be like breathing air for me. So
Well, I can promise you will have Sabu and Rob Van Dam. And because I'm helping Dylan Hines bring RVD and Sabu to WrestleCade as well. That's a
Well, I
little
can't
side
wait.
thing
I can't wait
that
to
I've
ask
got there.
RVD how he feels about Matt Riddle totally stealing his shit. I cannot wait to ask that question.
Tell you what, me and Resner know how to get with RVD. We'll get him in back parking lot.
Oh,
We got
yeah,
this.
there's
We
no
got this,
doubt.
baby.
Me and Barker are going to be best friends with
Yeah,
RVD
boy.
this weekend. that weekend for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, and make sure you listen again. We are here, and we are the House of Kayfabe, and we will see you next time right here on the House of Kayfabe.